Welcome back to Goal Chat. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling. I'm author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and host of Goal Chat Live, founder of the Deb Method. And I'm so excited because today I'm being joined by one of my favorite mangoes, Nita Sweeney. And she is, first of all, amazing. She's the author of Depression Hates a Moving Target, which came out last year, and co-author of You Should Be Writing with our very own Brenda Knight. So we're very excited. This new book comes out tomorrow, and it's a perfect excuse to talk about journaling. So, Nita, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Deb. I'm really excited to be here. It's tomorrow. Oh my gosh.
I know, right? Okay, so did I introduce you well? Did I miss anything?
Yes. Award-winning, but we don't have to be persnickety about this. But yeah.
If you do have that on your LinkedIn, we do have award-winning.
I do. It's been amazing.
But it's been quite a journey for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has.
I love, and we're going to talk about journaling in a minute, but I love how you started running. And I really think that if anybody ever thought, I need to have better work-life balance goals, better health goals, I need to start exercising. And you started, it was like with a minute of running.
60 seconds.
60 seconds.
Carrying a digital timer.
I love it. And it's really, and I do have a point. I'm going to get to it. It's sort of like for people who say, I can't write, I don't have time. You can run for a minute. You can write for a minute. You could do whatever you want for a minute or longer, right? And then it will impact your life. And it impacted your life. It was like the start of this wonderful journey to author. Who knew? Did you know?
Not at the time. I mean, I'm so excited about the new book that I don't want to go too Debbie Downer, but I was in a really bad place mental health wise, a very, very dark place. And I started running because I had to have something different. I had to have a change. And it did. It completely changed my life. So yeah, tiny goals.
Tiny goal gets to the big goals. So I just think you're amazing. So I don't think I could talk to you without saying, how you got to what really got you started, which just proves that any little bit of writing can start you on this wonderful path.
That's correct. I agree.
Okay. And you've been a writing instructor for like ages.
20 years. Yeah, I started in 2000. So.
And what is it about writing that is so important, amazing, fulfilling for people?
Well, it's hard for me to talk about other people because I think everybody has different motives. For me, it's an emotional outlet that can then be very practical as well. So it starts with feeling and then transforms into form. And that's the way it has worked for me. There's something about just the act of setting down words on the page. It's the sound of words, but also just seeing the page fill. So there's like a productivity element of it. There's a lot of things for me.
Wow. Did you say productivity? That's like one of my favorite words on the planet.
I should have known that, but
well,
what I'm trying to say is that it's not, people kind of think of it as the teenage girl with the unicorn notebook, writing about all of her love interests, whatever, things like that. And it is that, but it's also the lawyer trying to figure out the strategy for the next case, and the marathoner recording the details of a long run. I mean, it's so many things. I mean, that's what's so powerful about it. So.
Okay. Well, and today we're going to talk about journaling. And I think if anybody is ever considering writing, I really think journaling is the best place to start, because you have material, you have your life, you have what you see, you have what you feel, and that really helps with the writing muscles. And I use journaling it's a huge part of the Deb Method. It's a huge part of my book as well, because you can't go to action unless you see the words out of your head. You get those thoughts on paper, and you can better plan. And well, I'm jumping ahead to what I feel is the value of keeping a journal, which was the first question on Goal Chat last night. And so, what is, in your side, the value of keeping a journal?
There's so many things. You already said a few of them, but for me, it started with processing emotions. I actually started a regular, call it a writing practice, in one of my early mental health episodes. And so processing what was in my head, like you said, getting it out of your head onto paper, very powerful. The other thing, which I didn't realize I was doing, but I practiced law for 10 years. I was a partner in a small firm, and I would write. Other people would brainstorm, they'd have meetings and talk about things, and I'd sit there, nod politely, and then I'd go back to my office and download it into my computer, from my head with my fingers, because that's the way I was thinking. And then I could go back and see what I thought, because it was like I didn't know what I was thinking until I wrote it down. And then right now, one of the most important things that I feel is, we're living in this crazy time. We've never lived like in this kind of situation before. So many things happening, just waiting for the murder hornets. But we won't go there. But recording the details of what is happening, whether it's in my life personally, the world in general, things people tell me, getting that down, because later I'll forget those details. My husband was sick, so some of the sensory details about the things that happened as I was caring for him, listening to my friends talk about participating in protests, hearing about family members. One friend of mine, both her parents died with COVID, and listening to her talk about going to their funeral virtually, things like that. I mean, those details, we may not remember them later. So, it's kind of a bunch of different reasons why it can be powerful.
It's always, and I hear this a lot, and I think this too, when things are great, you don't want to take the time to write things down. And when things aren't great, you're like, why do I want to talk about them? Yeah. But in both essences, even if it's just a little snippet here and a little snippet there, you're recording, well, especially right now, you're recording history. Right. There's so much going on between COVID and civil unrest and the personal traumas people are living and economic disruption. Right. It's like what's right that's going on? Well, we're here.
We're having this great conversation, and
we're here, and we're also, and it's something that you do a lot of as well, is you do a lot of speaking and helping people getting through their trauma, whether it's through journaling or running or what have you. So yeah, there's a lot of crap going on, but you also have to look for the joy, because the joy, that's what helps us get through.
That's another type of journal too, is a gratitude journal. For many, many years, I was in a group where every morning we would send each other through email through things we were grateful for. And we kind of fell off, that kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, but might be a good time to bring that back, because just having that prompt to think of things, even if it was toilet paper, back before toilet paper wasn't a problem, but just to turn the brain to a more positive mode, very, very powerful.
Yes,
and put it on writing.
I've got Toot Your Horn Thursday on the Right Online group, and people have put toilet paper as their win for the week.
I was running yesterday. I'll just listen. I ran 6 miles yesterday, and as I'm running along, I thought, "What am I seeing?" There's a roll of toilet paper. Looks brand spanking new, but just one roll laying along the sidewalk, and I thought, "Great! We're so affluent here that we're tossing gold nuggets to the ground." I didn't pick it up though.
Toilet paper in the wild.
Oh, it was just crazy. So, but yes, positivity. Really need it right now. So
yes, and we take all wins. I'm going to share this quick link because And I love journaling for problem solving. And this is a piece that I wrote for Women's National Book Association, San Francisco chapter on journaling for problem solving. Because again, whether you're processing what's going on in the world or you're trying to figure out a solution, when you get those words out and you can see them, it's really much more effective in terms of how you can view things. Anyway, I had to share that because
Yes, thank you. It's a great article. I read it earlier. It's a very good article. She's really got some great tips in there, and again, it's a different way to think about journaling, a more kind of a business way, which sometimes we don't think of that, but that's what her book's all about, the goals. So
yeah, a business way. Well, it's what you were saying before. You say journal, people think diary, they think unicorns. I love that visual because, I mean, what 6-year-old, 7, 8-year-old didn't have a version of that. And now, as we are processing what's going on in the world, and we're also recording our wins, it's a great way to track the good, the gratitude, the awesome. Okay, so we already know your answer to the next question from last night's goal chat, but I'm going to ask it again. And if you're watching, I'd love for you to chime in. Do you use a journal? Why or why not? In what format? I'm going to do my answer real quick because I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about your practice and also the new journal that's coming out. But yes, of course I use a journal. Do I use it as much as I'd like to? Probably not. But again, 5 to 10 minutes of journaling is way better than no minutes of journaling. And I also found that using it, I use a Google Doc, and I keep a monthly journal, and then I save it, and then I start the next month. And for me, it's great because that way, wherever I am, whatever device I'm on, if I've got something I want to say, it's like it's there waiting for me. And I love that about, and I'm a firm believer in the mode in which you journal is, in which you will journal, is the mode in which you should journal. So, and I think someone on the chat last night said that she started doing a paper journal because she thought it was better and then wasn't, so went back to electronic. So, Nita, yes, you journal. Talk about the formats, and also I wanted you to talk about the value of the journaling by hand versus journaling by fingers.
Right. Thinking with your fingers. Yes. So I've probably been keeping a diary or a journalish thing since I was very, very young. I can't even remember. Basically, before I probably was even forming words, I had a pencil and was scrawling. And but my more formal practice began with what I call, and what Natalie Goldberg, one of my teachers, calls writing practice, where you literally set a timer. It comes from meditation. She's a Zen practitioner. And so we do writing practice. You set a timer for 10 minutes and you go and keep your hand moving. Sometimes you have a topic, sometimes you don't. But the point is to just go right in, not worry about grammar, punctuation, spelling, the words on the page. And the main rule is keep your hand moving. Don't cross out. If you're doing it on a computer, don't backspace. We had a group that did it online for a while, and we would cover our screens with a towel so that we couldn't actually see. Because if you're in a lot of Word documents, or you can turn off spell and grammar check. That's an easier way to do it. Mm-hmm. So you don't see the little squiggly red lines, because then that inner critic, that internal editor, hops in and goes, ooh, ooh, ooh. And so it's so tempting to want to correct. And so that's kind of my regular practice that I do almost every day, not quite every day. And I treat it like a practice, like meditation, or as if like with running, you don't build that muscle without repetition. So I keep other kinds of journals too. Because I had that writing practice, when I started running, there's this little box in the program I log with that says, how did it go? And so I answer the question. And sometimes the answer to that question is very, very long. But I'm recording things that are important to running, but also important just sort of, in life. So it could be my left knee hurt, my feet felt heavy, things like that. Or it could be my pace was this way, or it could be, wow, the lady down the street, I saw her and she doesn't look well. I need to remember to check on her. It could be all kinds of things like that. So there's that one. And then I keep a little moleskin, which I meant to bring it with me, but it's in the other room. I'm not going to get it. One of those little bitty moleskin. I keep that in my purse. And anytime I have some downtime, when I used to leave the house, which I don't so much now, I'll just jot notes in that. And it can just be anything. But mostly it's my thoughts about, it could be what's happening in the world. It could be what's happening in a friend's life, my life. It could be a next writing project. But it's not usually just a list. That's different. This is actual, sentences, thoughts in process. So those are my three.
I remember,
yeah, sorry.
Well, I remember when we used to leave the house. Remember?
Yes. I think it's been 100 years, but I do remember. We're all getting old.
I remember, and one of the tips that I like is you want to keep a journal, and you just said this, I'm just going to say it in a different way. It's good to have a dedicated journal for like your thoughts, ideas, whatever. But if you have different projects, to have like a dedicated space for everything that you journal. So I think that's fantastic because
I forgot one. I also keep a book journal for any book I'm working on. So the big projects, and I try to remember to start it when I have the idea. So I just remember that. So I actually have a ton of them and 2 books. I have, probably 15 book journals and 2 books because that's the way it goes. But
yeah. And I try and I like to, for when I'm not doing the online journaling, I keep legal pads, and it's like, when is the one that is like the daily, weekly, whatever, all the things, all the notes, the work, right? And then I'll keep one for each project, whether it's a book or some promo I'm working on or just whatever cool thing that I'm working on. I like to have dedicated notebooks. And then it kind of came to a head because the last week, 2 of them were like on the second to last page, and then everything got mixed up. So I picked up a 3rd one, which had a different purpose. And now that's got like all my projects on it, which is fine. It will all get sorted out because I like to do, if not my first draft, my outline of any projects just on paper. And it's really, for me, and you said it before, and I fully agree, I usually use journal for more businessy type things, idea development, whatever. Granted, if I'm having an amazing or incredibly crappy day or want to log something, of course, I'll put that in there too. But I think especially when you're formulating ideas for things, whether it's a writing project or a job or something that you want to create, it's really good to have something to look through as you're generating all of your notes to be like, okay, yeah, I said that. That was a really good idea. I said that like 4 days ago. I'm glad I have this log because I have everything. You have all the ideas. You have everything you need for the things you want to create inside yourself. You just have to let it out.
I agree. And that's why one of the other exercises I do, which sometimes is, may seem kind of silly, is I do make lists, but it's usually separate from regular journaling. I'll choose a specific thing, and it'll be everybody I met last year. And I will just write down all the names I can remember. Now, I may have them somewhere else in a business file, but there's something about writing them down again. And then what will happen is one of those names I'll flash on it, and a whole memory will come up, and then I'll start writing that. So it's not the list that's important, but it's the process. That's why I think for me, journaling, writing practice, free writing, whatever you want to call it, it's much more meditative because it has that way of dropping into a deeper level of the mind. And then it can be very practical, because this may be somebody I want to connect with on something, or it may, I may flash on an idea for something that I want to pursue. But I have to have that kind of settling of the water so that thought can rise.
I love that. I have a version of that in my book too. But again, business purpose, because it's a great way to take inventory of where you've been, what you're doing, where you're going. But I love how you use it to invoke memories and ideas, because it's all you need to create is like a pad of paper and a pen, or a funky, cool new journal, or a computer with, yeah, you can play
Did you
show
say
and tell.
funky new journal? I think she just
Yeah.
said, did you just say
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes, I did lead into what you want to do. So go right ahead. Like that one?
This one, tomorrow it comes out. This is You Should Be Writing, a journal of inspiration and instruction to keep your pen moving. It's co-authored with Brenda Knight, the associate publisher of Mango Publishing, and it is filled with author quotes. Find a page here. Author quotes at the top of each page. They're organized by theme, so you can either start it at the beginning, go all the way through, or pick a chapter that is where you're at. It has a lovely foreword by Becca Anderson, and then I wrote the introduction and the conclusion and these little micro essays, and Brenda compiled the quotes, and then I added some of my favorites, and we organized it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. But I think it's the kind of thing where sometimes you get stuck, and a more guided journal, something with prompts, can be very, very helpful. So I'm pretty excited about that. Thanks for letting me show.
Of course. Of course. And I'm putting the link in the chat. It's taking its sweet time. There you go.
Because you should be writing book.com.
I knew that.
That's okay. Yeah.
No,
so
I knew that.
Writing book.com. It's also on the Mango website. So if you go to Mango Publishing Group.com, but you should be writing book.com will take you to the link.
Okay. I'm going to put the right one in. I can do it. Yes. It took its own sweet time. It ended up there. The magic of the internet. Woohoo. Okay. And the reason I was bringing that up, because we have to go with the last journaling question from the chat last night. Let me switch. Everybody's apparently having internet issues today, so it's not just me. So I feel a little bit better. Well, when you go online and everybody's complaining that the internet's slow, you're like, phew, it's not a personal vendetta. It gets
right.
So what tips do you have for starting and maintaining a journaling practice? You can start with a book if you need a little bit of help.
Right.
Or ... I'll let you go first on this one.
I like to think of it as, well, I talked about thinking of it as a practice, but you kind of talked about this, but making it convenient. And I'll go one step further, anchor it to something else. So if you always get up and have a cup of coffee every morning, when you have your cup of coffee, after you make it, make that your time to journal. If you have a particular meeting once a week, after that meeting, make that your time to journal. Something that you already have a habit. Tie it to that, anchor it to that, because that way you already have the structure. So much of what we're missing is a structure. So that's probably the one we kind of haven't talked about, because the guided journal, set a timer, I talked about that, using prompts. And then I think I talked about this a little bit, but remember, this is not something that is going to be judged by anybody. Nobody has to see it unless you want them to. So let yourself be a complete beginner and get as honest as you can. Because I love, there's bits about in Deb's book about that, about when you're making your own goals, if you don't know what they are, how can you achieve them? But if you don't know what they are, sometimes it's me that's the one that doesn't know. And by journaling, we can access that deeper place that already knows what we want and how to do it.
I thank you for bringing that up. So I cannot have a conversation about journaling without talking about my little directed journaling exercise. And it's that process. And I like the timer too. I say set it for 15 minutes because everybody has 15 minutes. And if you're whether you're trying to solve a problem or figure out your goals or figure out what your life's work is or just work through something, you just want to throw it out on the page and don't look. I love the whole cover the screen thing, although that might drive some people a little bit, it might be a little bit awkward, but I like turn off spell check so you don't.
You can get your fingers on the wrong keys, and that is interesting. So
yeah. So you can we both give you permission to look, but turn off spell check so you're not like overcorrecting and overthinking. But with the directed journaling, you want to do, if you're doing it to resolve something, figure something out, you want to do it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then you can go back and look through it, because especially if you're trying to work through something, the answers are there. And you can go through and look for patterns, say, oh, I mentioned this 5 times. I mentioned this 20 times. Well, let me give this 20-time thing attention. I had absolutely no idea I had that much interest until I let myself go with the idea and kind of groove into the journaling. You never know what you're going to discover unless you give yourself that gift of journaling. I think of journaling as a gift. It's a gift you give yourself, the time to sort out what's going on in the world, what you want to be going on in the world, right? In your world, or just to share. So you have that, your memories, your thoughts, your experiences, your gratitude written down.
Yeah, it's definitely, I talk about it in terms of writers, because that's who I tend to teach, is writers and other creatives. If you take the time to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever that is, of journaling, you're telling the part of yourself that makes stuff happen that writing is important, or that whatever you're writing about is important. And it's a very unconscious process that really works. So yeah, give yourself that gift.
I'm still on the anchoring it to something else thing.
Okay.
Because for me, because believe it or not, this is like, I'm one of those, I write in found time, especially when I'm doing things for me, because like you, I'm constantly writing. So usually it's like, and I guess I do anchor it. It's like before I go to bed, I just want to get my thoughts of the day out. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize I was doing it.
Yeah, you already are. Yeah. Well, you remember too that some people naturally structure their lives. They don't even realize that's what's happening. But some people need to bring the structure to consciousness. And so that's why I talk about that, because if you're having trouble doing anything, especially something that you've either done before and want to start again, or you haven't ever done before and you want to start anew, finding an easy way to do it, and finding the time it can be found time, because let's say you get your cup of coffee and normally you end up on Facebook for half an hour. Well, how about making 10 minutes of that or 15 minutes of that journaling instead? So it's like that. That's kind of the way I think of it.
Yeah, I think what I said on the chat last night, which we both repeated today, is don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. You want to journal? Just do it.
Right. And don't, the other thing is that open your mind about what it can be. I have friends, they journal, but they do it in pictures. They draw. They record thoughts, feelings, ideas, strategies in images. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we have to do it the way that works for us. This is a tool that we use to make work for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Did we talk about the benefits of writing by hand versus?
I don't think we did. And
Okay.
I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I will say that there have been studies that talk about, especially a lot of them have been in school situations where it's about taking notes by hand versus typing. And, hands down, no pun intended, writing by hand is superior because you retain more information, and it's a different process of the brain than typing. There's also been studies about emotional connections, and a lot of those studies were about where you end up going, whether you're writing by hand versus typing, and people are able to access emotions and memories um, more easily when they're writing by hand. There are some productivity factors. So there's lots of reasons why writing by hand does serve you really well. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. For me, it's about getting it done. I tend to switch back and forth. Sometimes when I get stuck, if I've been writing, I usually try to do my first drafts longhand, but if I get stuck, I head to the computer. Sometimes when I'm revising, I'm on the computer, I will sit down and rewrite what I'm doing by hand, because it's just about getting it done. So, there. What I've heard said is that it's the same center of the brain, handwriting versus typing, but there's a little difference, just a slight difference in the way the brain lights up, because it's a different physical activity. So.
Thank you. That's good to know. Thank you for addressing that, because I know it's got to be the way you will write is the way you should write.
Right. And I think be willing to try, if you're so used to only doing it longhand because that's what journaling should be, give typing it a try and see what it is for you.
It's kind of like the question, and before my group was for writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs, it was just for writers. And I would always get this question, when do you write? When should I write? And I would always say, well, what works for you? What works for you works for you. What works for someone else may work for you. You can try it. But it's like everything else. It's trial and error. Do what you can to figure out what your routine is, what your habit is, what ways in which you can bring this practice into your life to make your life better, and the people around you's lives are going to be better. If you're using a journal as an emotional release because you have stress, the people in your life are going to find you much more pleasant if you're not hanging on to all that stress, especially right now. I had a client who, she was telling me that she and her husband were like butting heads all the time because they were both totally stressed. And I'm like, have you tried journaling? What do you mean? Well, if you like write out what's stressing you out, you get it out of your body and you're happier. I'm gonna try. It's like it never occurred to her. And I'm like, yes, my work is done.
There's even I'd have to look that up, but I know that they even say that it improves your immune system.
Oh, I've heard that too. And it's good for the endorphins.
Right. Yes. So mental health, physical health, relationship health.
Yeah. It's like you've got everything right in there. Okay, so I want to share real quick. This is the link from the Twitter chat we had last night, which Nita joined as well.
It was so much fun. Go on there because the other people had some great ideas and just good input. It was a fun chat.
I loved how one of the more athletic people said he doesn't journal, and you challenged him. You said, but you're logging all of your workouts, so you are journaling.
I think he actually is journaling. He just, again, he's not thinking of it broadly enough. He's got this very narrow, who doesn't? So.
Yes. Okay. And I also have, so here, if you want to learn more about Nita, here is her website.
Oh, yeah.
Is it right?
HTTPS. Sorry. They're all pretty much.
It'll revert.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It'll revert.
Sorry.
Okay. I was trying to make it a live link.
Nice. Live is good.
So there we go. And I'm going to pull up the book link one more time, and it is coming out tomorrow, June 16th, 2020.
Get your copy.
Very, very exciting.
I know it is. It's so,
And it just goes to show that even when the world is shut down, you can release stuff and have fun and get out there and talk about it without leaving the comfort of your home. Right?
Well, yes. And I mean, we were very careful to have a very balanced assortment of authors. So there's authors of, all different kinds. And who doesn't need to be writing right now? I mean, we always should be writing, but right now, especially, we should all be writing. Really.
We should all be writing. Okay, so first of all, let me just share my links real quick. If you want to learn more about your goal guide, go to yourgoalguideroadmap.com. And if you're curious to learn more about me, go to thedebmethod.com, and thedebmethod.com/goalchat has all the recaps so you can watch the previous episodes. Okay, so now we have to give people an extra credit bonus assignment.
Okay.
So what do we want people to do, like the second they stop watching this?
Oh, I would say open a blank document and start typing, whether it's a cheap spiral notebook. You probably don't have this yet, but this would have been perfect. Google Doc, and go. I'll give them 2 assignments.
Okay.
Tell me everything that's keeping you going right now.
Okay.
So everything that's keeping me going, and then all the reasons I want to stop. So do those 2 things.
Right.
Okay.
You
do them
want
the
to
other
stop.
way. Yeah. Do them the other way.
Okay.
Do them. First would be all the reasons I want to stop. And I don't care what it's about.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. No, you keep them broad, open-ended. All the reasons I want to stop. Go for 10. And then when you're done, everything that's keeping me going for 10.
Okay. All the reasons you want to stop doing whatever is first.
Don't say doing. No.
Oh, well,
all the reasons I want to stop.
Okay.
Because it can be a very large thing. It can be just one little thing. And then everything that's keeping me going, or everything that keeps me going.
All the reasons I want to stop. All the things that are keeping me going.
Yeah. Everything that keeps me going. Everything that keeps me going.
Okay.
I actually choose these very carefully. So they're that way. They're the way they are for a reason. So
okay, all the reasons I want to stop, everything that keeps me going. Those are your 2 bonus prompts. So should it be 10 minutes total or 10 minutes for each of those?
Well, I think if you're just starting out, maybe 10 minutes total, but I would do probably an hour and a half on each of them. But that's me.
Okay. I think the goal is you should
just
be writing.
Get them going. Right.
So be writing.
Yeah, right. And if you want more prompts, I have a prompt on all my social media channels every day at noon. So
okay, and it's at Nita Sweeney.
Yes, well, it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter. Yes, and the hashtag that I use for that is 10 minutes go, but I think I'm also using the you should be writing hashtag. So, but you can find those under 10 minutes go.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Nita Sweeney, for joining me today for Goal Chat Live. And again, You Should Be Writing, which is by Nita Sweeney and Brenda Knight, will be out tomorrow, June 16th. And
it's so pretty.
It really is pretty. So remember, you should be writing. Let us know how the journaling is going for you in the comments, and have a great week. I'll be back next Sunday night on Goal Chat on Twitter, and next Monday, same time, same channel. Join me for Goal Chat Live.
Great. Thanks again, Deb. Thanks everybody for being here, and thanks again, Deb. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.